Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On Track. And this is the show where we recap everything that is related to the Olympic Games. As you can see, we have our special guest join us today, and it's Demar as well, the expert track and field analyst, to break down the action from today. Good afternoon, Demar. How art thou? How are you doing?
Compared to yesterday, it's been a
Mhm.
much better day, a much lighter day.
Yeah,
So, it's not been as emotionally taxing,
yeah.
for want of a better word.
All right, so I understand. Now we have a special guest that is joining us all the way from France, one of our own, our fellow Jamaicans who has been doing some coverage, and we're going to hear from him just for a few minutes to catch up on things. I know he's working on some content, so great to have him for a few minutes. We have the man himself, none other than Mr. James Truscott. James, how are you doing, man? How are things, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, doing well, doing well. Firstly, how are you? How are things in Paris? What's the mood like?
Yeah, I think the mood amongst the Jamaica fans, perhaps a little bit deflated. Um, given recent events, obviously we've had a couple field event medals to be proud about. We've had a couple, multiple valiant performances, on the track and in the field competitions to be proud about as well. But I think knowing for a lot of people that the sprints are very much our bread and butter, there's been multiple withdrawals or near misses. I think despite the reasonable amount of success, understandably Jamaican fans have high standards. So it could be hard putting that success into the relative context. Obviously it's been very, very warm here. Nothing that the, Jamaican athletes aren't used to, but I guess, some of the European athletes, even for summertime, it's been warm, 31 degrees Celsius. Here today in those sweltering conditions would no doubt have an impact on certain athletes from certain countries' performances.
Mm. And for you, James, just your experience overall, being in the stadium, being outside of the stadium, the fan village, and all of that. What's the experience been like for you as well? And of course, when you're wearing your Jamaican top.
Well, as you mentioned, kitted out in my 1998 Reggae Boys World Cup jersey. Um, to be honest, the atmosphere ahead of the men's 100-meter final was pulsating. Obviously, sports events, sports venues, you hear a lot of talk about light shows and things like that. Um, the stadium staff handed out these wristbands that basically helped create the light show that took place. The track is purple, and there were lots of purple lights, and lots of stuff going on, and the tense music and all that. And when the sprinters came out and stuff, the tension was there to be felt, and I think that helped really create an amazing atmosphere. Everyone was very much invested in the race as well, and with how close the race was, I think that had everyone on edge. Everyone, standing on their feet, just wondering what happened. Obviously, most people in the stadium, myself included, thought that our guy Kishane took the dub.
Mm.
I think Noah Lyles even said in his, press conference after the event that he went to Kishane Thompson and said, "Yeah, man, I think that's yours." Tentatively, proved not to be the case, but yeah, still a great run from him. Having just exploded onto the scene this season, running a 9.77 at the Jamaican trials. He only ran his first Diamond League this season too. I think he can definitely be very proud of where he come from, and many more Olympics to come.
Yeah, James, honestly, keep up the great work you're doing. We really appreciate it. It makes us feel like we're there in Paris with you. Just one more before we go, James. Is there any event over the next coming days you're looking forward to the most? Whether it's the relays or other events, any events for you in particular that you can't wait to see in terms of the action?
Well, I think relays are always an exciting event for the neutrals. Also, sometimes they can be a bit of a leveler. If you haven't been doing well in the individual events, then you can maybe salvage something. I think on the women's side of things, due to the, injury woes and withdrawals, I think the women's 4x1 is a bit of a concern. The women's 4x4 though, like, I would always back our team in that relay. We always tend to do well there. With the men's 4x1, the times that Thompson, Blake, and Seville have been running this season, you'd expect us to be in the mix for the medals. I think USA are going to be strong favourites for the gold there. Long jump, I guess, has been earmarked as potential medal bet for us. obviously, as I said, we've been doing well in the field events, so it would stay true to form. And a few fans I've spoken to are feeling relatively confident for that. So yeah, let's go a long jump.
All right, sounds good. Listen, James, honestly, brilliant for you to have on. We'll certainly have you on later in the week for sure. Keep up the great work in terms of the content. Make sure to get a little bit of rest. I know what it's like in terms of the transition and time, but if you can get 5 hours rest, that'll be great. And let's stay in touch, James.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me on. I'll see you guys.
All right,
Bye.
James. Much appreciated. There we go, guys. James Truscott there over in Paris. Damar, let's in terms look at the action from this morning. Were you up at 3 a.m. this morning and looking at the heats of the different
well, I said
events?
sadly, but yes, I was. I was up. I caught the first few. I missed. I think I missed the first heat with Jail, but I caught the last two races. The last two with Clark and James Smith and Malik James Smith.
All right, and in terms of the Malik James and also Rashawn Clark, your thoughts about their delivery as well, because many persons have them highly in terms of at least getting to a final in this event.
Well, I share the same sentiment. I think out of the three, Malik James King was the one who looked the best. He had to work a bit. He ran a very measured race. He eased off for the last like 50 meters or so because he had a bad lane draw. So according to that, he ran and executed a proper race. As for Clark, I still have an issue with his 8 and 9 hurdle. He's stumbling off it, and against the Dos Santos and the Warholm and the Benjamins of this world, you can't afford to have that type of mistake when you're coming, especially in the home stretch, because those athletes, they're really strong. So I do have him and Malik James Smith to make the final. I would love for both of them to probably to do a personal best or something like that. But it will be hard to get on, the medal podium because of the big three.
All right, the 400-meter hurdles have an opportunity to look through that, so we can be able to analyze the other events that took place. Another one as well, Damar, was the women's, in terms of the women's equivalent and also the women's 400 meters. A lot of excitement building about a young lady called Price, who has been collegiately impressing. Your thoughts about her as well in the 400?
All right. I think I spoke to you and Jeff yesterday, and I was saying that I just wanted to see how she managed to run. And to be very honest, she looked like a pro. She ran 50 low, and it was probably one of the most easy 50 low I've seen from somebody in a long, long time. There was minimal effort on the back stretch and the curve to come home. She just ran a very but it's like she's a seasoned professional. So the worries that I actually had her, experience-wise, it went through the window because she's showing us that she's here and she's here to stay. Also, Stacey, I was really impressed with Stacey and Williams. She ran close to her personal best, which is a good sign. And it wasn't a race where she was going at 100%. She still had some left in the tank. And I think this bodes well for the future. And she should be able to finally tap into that sub 50 category.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about the future as well, Damar. When you look ahead, you have a World Championships next year. You think about a Commonwealth Games the year after, World Championships after that, and Olympics after that. And these are young ladies, early 20s, mid 20s. So if they can remain grounded, focused, and healthy, then certainly the sky is the limit for these young ladies. Healthy is a key word, staying injury-free.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I feel like, especially with Price, once she stays healthy, the sky is the limit. I think she has tremendous potential to do something special in this event.
Right, exactly. And let's look ahead in terms of the afternoon session and what we're able to see. The 200 meters for men, unfortunately, we have a situation situation where we'll have our Jamaicans Level and Hudson go through the repechage. That's tomorrow morning. Interesting scenario, Demar, because Level and Hudson started off like a house on fire. But what
Yeah.
happened?
All right. If I'm being very honest,
Mm.
I'm not that surprised at the way that Hudson did his 200 meter, because he has been running that way since he's made the switch, and I've actually been paying attention to him. He goes out hard for the first like 130, and then he fades badly. But for Level, I'm really surprised, because it is not his usual tactic to attack the first 100. He tends to save something for the last 50 or so. He just tries to stay in contention, and then he comes home hard. But I don't know if you remember his last race before the games in Cairnsville. He ran a 200 meter against Knight in Kingsville, and he employed the same tactic where he went out hard over the first 120 meter, and then he faded. No, I actually thought that was just a test run, to see how it would look if he tried to switch up the tactic a bit. But he came back here and he did the same thing. So I don't know if it's his coach's instructions, or he's trying something new. But personally, I would feel more comfortable if he went back to his old tactics in the repechage tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Fully get that drift 100%. In the women's equivalent, unfortunately, for the first time since 1976, which was long before Demar and I
That's true.
were born, the last time that we didn't have a woman in the final. Yeah. So we won't have the likes of Berger and Thomas in the 200-meter final. So we'll just be observing. Demar, not a day where we had finals, but tomorrow at least we can look forward to at least one final, the men's long jump final. Any expectations, hopes, your end?
It's a difficult event to call, I think, outside of the gold medal. I know my Jamaican friends won't like this, but Tentangalo he's the embodiment of consistency. He delivers every single time. So if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would put everything on him winning the gold medal. As far as the other two medals are, I think we have a fair shot, especially with Wayne, because he's capable of producing a big jump. I don't think in the prelims, I don't think the conditions were ideal for jumping. That was throwing off the jumpers, because 1 second they were jumping into a headwind, and the next it was a tailwind. So the conditions weren't favorable. So I'm hoping that if it calmed down and they have like a tailwind, Wayne and Kerry can be in and around the medals.
All right. Yeah, 100%. So you heard what Demar said, folks. We have to wait a little longer for our first gold medal at the Olympic Games. We have to wait a little longer. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But yes, in terms of finals tomorrow, that is what we have to look forward to. It's a public holiday. We'll have Jamaicans at home, so it's an opportunity for them to throw their support. In relation to what else is happening, the women's 400-meter hurdle semifinals. Yeah, that takes center stage tomorrow, and the men's 400 semifinals is tomorrow as well. But the women's 400-meter hurdle semifinals for women, we can look forward to Rochelle Clayton, Genevieve Russell, and Cheyenne Salmon. Just a quick word on these young ladies as well, Demar, before we wrap up today's show.
As far as the ladies go, I think Clayton is our bet for a medal. I think she has been very consistent this season. She's, for me, it's between her and Cockrell for the brands, but Clayton has been more consistent. over the season so far. I expect her to navigate her semifinals quite easily. If I'm being honest, I don't think her biggest challenge should come from Tasmin Jones, but she should, on paper, because I say on paper because it's a hurdles and you never know. But on paper, she's the clear favorite for this semifinals.
All right, Demar, thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate your being on and giving the expert and comprehensive viewpoint. And folks that tuned in, thank you very much for watching. Join us again tomorrow, same time, where hopefully we'll get our 4th medal or possibly 5th of the Olympic Games. Have a pleasant rest of the day and set your alarms early because at 3:05 a.m. we go again tomorrow.